And we're back. Now it is time for the Rant Wheel. You know how it works. We spin the wheel wherever it lands. We discuss the topic. This week on the wheel, we have H.R.1, The Masked Singer, DC Statehood, WeWork, Eating in Front of Humans Again, Vaccine Passport Discourse, Pence's book deal, and the film Godzilla vs. Kong. Great list of topics. And we have some special guests this week to help us with some of these rants. Let's spin the wheel. It has landed on DC Statehood, and we have a very special guest with a great deal of expertise and a long-held position on this topic. She is now in her 15th term as the Congresswoman for the District of Columbia. Please welcome Eleanor Holmes Norton. Thank you so much for being here.
Such a pleasure. I'll give you a rant. We're in the period when people are paying taxes. The people I represent, number one per capita in taxes paid to support the United States of America, and yet don't have the same rights as everybody else. Give us statehood or give us back our taxes.
Damn right. So as we are talking here, there's been a development. We now know there's going to be a House floor vote on statehood. Can you tell us what you expect to happen, and what are the obstacles to statehood as you see it right now?
It's coming. March 14th, we have the markup. That's where we prepare to go to the House floor. We're going to the House floor the week of the 19th, and 54% of the American people now support DC statehood. What has done that for us? All these hearings, telling the American people what they did not know. Before the last vote in June, people were all over the map. Some thought we had statehood, some were against statehood, many did not know. The exposure that the process is given to statehood has ramped up. Huge support for DC statehood.
Now, let me ask you this. There's some powerful arguments being made against DC statehood.
Name me one. Give me one that's powerful.
Here's a powerful one. DC does not have a landfill.
Doesn't have what? A landfill. As you say, really, that's the most they can come up with. And that's where they're driven to. That's what they're driven to. You don't look like other states, so you shouldn't be a state. Nobody asked the 37 states that became statehood what they looked like. They just said you were entitled to statehood. We're entitled to statehood, and statehood is coming.
Statehood's coming. What obstacles do you think remain in the Senate? What are you hearing? What are you thinking about doing to make sure we get this thing through the Senate?
Well, besides Republicans, the greatest obstacle is now fast diminishing. And that is that the Senate is a very undemocratic body. It usually takes what we know as a filibuster or 60 votes. But we now see the filibuster is on its last legs. The Senate was late in organizing this year over one issue. It wasn't DC statehood. It was the filibuster. Democrats gained control of the Senate in no small part because the Senate has been doing nothing. They simply filibustered everything, meaning that nothing passed. We had more than 400 bills over there. Now, some of them were bipartisan. Why didn't at least some of them pass? So the American people are fed up with a kind of one house that operates, the other that just does nothing. That bodes well for legislation generally, and especially well for DC statehood.
We have these DC statehood teas. They are DC themed. We need to send them to everybody on your team for fighting for statehood.
I love that. I've never seen one like that.
It's brand new. We got there's some Ben's Chili Bowl themes on this one. We got other themes. We got all kinds of merch. All right, because merch is going to be how we get this done. Ultimately. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, thank you so much, and very exciting to see that there's going to be this floor vote. And we're excited to keep up the fight. Let's spin it again. It has landed on the Hulu WeWork documentary, a submission by Crooked's own and Instagram's own, Jon Millstein.
Hey everybody, it's streaming season and we're still streaming till our hearts are content. So yeah, I watched the Hulu WeWork documentary. It's pretty good. It's about the company and how it did well and then did bad. And a lot for me to like, a lot of my favorite things, people getting very rich, young professionals looking good, dressing well, a founder who's very tall and very proud. And so, yeah, a lot to like. But for me, the movie, and I don't know if you guys know the WeWork story here in Love It or Leave It land. Probably the listeners are very smart. But my main reaction to this movie is like just an overwhelming feeling of jealousy for the people who worked at this company and were able to drink the Kool-Aid at such a large quantity. Like basically this, some of these people were living in a building that was a We Live building. They were working in a WeWork. If their friends didn't work at WeWork, they removed them from their lives. And they had this founder who was going around saying, my business is to elevate people's consciousness. And they were like, that makes sense. And you're normal. Like you're not, you don't need to go on a retreat. But yeah, I just feel like I have so many, my skepticism meter, doubt meter is too high for me to ever give myself fully into this sort of group mind. And I just watch something like that and I just get the jealousy is just peaking. I would love to be the guy who was in a fraternity. That sounds fun. I didn't do that. I would have loved to be a good member of a cult. I don't think I have the constitution for that. And just watching the people at the WeWork retreats, they would go to Coachella style retreats, and people were required to get wasted by their boss with their coworkers. To me, I would be so overwhelmed and scared. I would be worried about getting very bad sleep because the environment would be so strange to me. I would be having a bad time at Capture the Flag or whatever sort of activities they were doing. So yeah, I think that's a character flaw of mine, and watching these people just form a single hive, it really drew that out of me, and that's my rant.
I think it's like the flip side of a problem that I have that sounds somewhat similar. I won't speak for you, which is that I find it hard to be fully and earnestly inside of a group like that. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't strike. Like, I don't think I've ever been at a party while having fun without, at many times throughout that experience, stepped outside and said, I am at a party. I appear to be having fun. On the other hand, I will say that it is amazing how far you can get with a perfect hairline. Like, it is incredible what you can do with that, with a long full mane.
Yeah, you're talking
hair.
Adam Newman.
That because ultimately, isn't this? I mean, I'm excited to watch the documentary, but we really are talking about short-term office rentals, and desk space, right? Like, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think of it in terms of inches as far as how many inches of height this man has, because I think we're talking, we're getting close to 7 feet, and like you say, the hair. I would actually, I don't know if I would say it's perfect. It's definitely full. It's quite square. I don't know if I would want my hairline to be so horizontal. He kind of had a helmet thing going on. But yeah, also one detail, you do get very far as well if you're tight with punked Ashton Kutcher. I mean, that is like a huge trump card. This guy was tight with Ashton. Like, you're in the money, baby.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Tall men cannot be trusted. They have too much confidence. They have not faced nearly enough hurdles in their life, and the hurdles they did face were too small. Proportionally for them. They can step over them. There's a little confidence that you can draw straight from James Comey to WeWork, a connection that needs to be made.
Yeah, and these guys, there are two founders, and they are the two types of tall guys. One of them is straight vertical. The other one is big and square. And so like they're double trouble. You know, we can't have all the types of tall guys represented here.
No, because that's dangerous. That's dangerous because that's both the kind of tall guy that looks tall in every picture, and that's the kind of tall guy that can surprise you because they are
small.
proportionally. They could be anything. As dangerous.
I could go to Wall Street right now and just make $1 million advising people, and I think you could come along to not to invest with tall men of any sort.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. All else being equal, steer clear. Jon Millstein, everybody. Let's spin it again. It has landed on HR1. Here to rant about the topic, Crooked Media's political director, Shaniqua McClendon. Over to you.
Hi, Jon. I'm really happy to be here.
Okay.
And I had to say that because of how I'm going to start this rant.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Joe Manchin. And anyone who knows me knows that I hate the word hate because it's like a really strong word. It really means something, but it's literally the only word I can think about to describe how I feel about Joe Manchin. And it got stronger yesterday when he put out his op-ed in the Washington Post. I read it. I got more mad because I was like, this is so condescending. Like, who is he talking to? Why is he lecturing us? And all he's doing is like repeating, I guess, all the stuff that tells him it's okay to deny voting rights from millions of people in this country. And he lifted up our founding fathers, which I always think is a bad thing to do when you're trying to make a good point, because they were wrong about a lot of stuff. And not just like the things we know they were wrong about, like murdering indigenous people, stealing land, slavery. They were wrong about a lot of stuff. But that's who he chose to lift up. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Really quick story, not even a story, but I wrote a piece a couple months ago for crooked.com about the insurrection. And like the big point of it was that white supremacy is upheld by a lot of different things. It's upheld by thinking you can overturn an election just because you want to, but also more subtle things like not wanting to send your kids to integrated schools or live in an integrated neighborhood, like all of these things. But one thing I would add to that is Joe Manchin, an old white guy with a ton of privilege who is like lecturing everyone about how important and sacred the filibuster is and why even for voting rights, it's not something that can be overturned. And the thing I keep thinking about is we've worked so hard in 2018 and 2020 to get Democrats elected. We're going to do it again in 2022. But this time, if all these Republicans pass all these laws, they're going to overturn these elections. They'll put, the people that they want in legislative bodies at the federal and state level. And then we'll have, Brian Kemp is up for re-election. Is he just going to be like put in because that's who they want there? And then they'll take the power they have. They'll fill our judiciaries, including the Supreme Court, with conservative people. Then they'll pass crazy laws. Crazy governors will sign them. And then when Democrats try to challenge them, they'll be upheld by all of these conservative justices. And I know if all of that were to happen, which could have been prevented if we pass HR1, no one's going to look up and say, oh my God, Joe Manchin, thank you so much for preserving the filibuster. We are in such a much better place now. And I just want to know what he's thinking. Like, this bill is really important, and he's just literally standing in the way of a lot of progress. But a couple other things separate from Joe Manchin, there are a lot of progressive organizations in the progressive ecosphere, that's a word, right?
Sure. It can be. Language is what we make of it. I'm for it. Ecosphere.
Eco something. That's what we're going to call it. I think every progressive organization should be working on this right now, not just voting rights organizations, not just civil rights organizations. If you are fighting for access to abortion, education, roads and bridges, like whatever it is that you're fighting for, if people can't vote for progress, then none of those things are going to be passed into law. And then finally, kind of on a sappy note and a little sad, I hope that everyone is thinking as an individual, like, what are they doing? Because I know in 2 years, we will remember how we showed up in this moment. And a lot of us did that after the 2016 election, wondering, did we do enough? And right now we have an opportunity. We know what's coming to fight for this bill. So like all of us need to be talking to our family and friends and like whoever we need to, calling our elected officials and making sure that they pass this by any means necessary. Because if we don't, I really think we're going to wake up in 2 years and regret whatever we didn't do to save ourselves from this moment. So I will end my rant on kind of, I guess, a nice note and say, like, we still have the power to do things and to stop Republicans from doing everything that they're doing around the country and what they will ultimately do if we don't pass this bill at the federal level. But we just have to like take action. And you can do that if you go to votesaveamerica.com/for-the-people.
Thank you for that rant. Yeah, just when I read the piece by Manchin, what I was actually thinking about is how important a lot of these debates we've been having about how we talk about our history really are. Mm-hmm. Because what he's actually saying is, because of a fantastical version of history, mm-hmm. I'm going to make the present and the future worse. I'm going to adhere to a silly and childlike version of the past in order to make an argument for why things can't get better. And I'm with you on, and like, obviously that's incredibly frustrating. I think we have to do two things. I think we have to keep fighting and we have to keep pushing, because you're right. Politicians are for something right until the moment they're against it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were against reforming the filibuster around judges until the moment they had to vote to change the filibuster rules. And so that's what we have to do from the outside. I also am wondering if we really do need to start talking about the filibuster in a different way, not because our argument isn't completely valid, but because we're not just making it to the country, we're making it to half a dozen people in the Senate, really even 2 people in the Senate. And I'm coming around to a view, I'm wondering, I'm thinking out loud, because it's a podcast and the stakes are very low, about whether or not we need to start saying, I'm going to say it, and I want to see your reaction to this. Okay. Are you ready? Joe Manchin is right. Wait, see, I knew that. Now that's the hook. Now you're clicked. Now you're reading my op-ed.
All ears.
All right. Right now, we are presented with 2 options: a status quo in which nothing changes and nothing gets better and nothing can pass. That's bad. Eliminating the filibuster, which creates a majoritarian rule in the Senate and doesn't allow the voice of the minority to be heard. I'm just making an argument. Mm-hmm. But I think there might be a better way, which is we can strengthen the filibuster so that it is no longer abused and lacks all meaning and actually prevents debates from happening. Yeah. And allow the minority in the Senate to be heard as the filibuster was intended, by strengthening the filibuster and requiring 40 senators in the minority to hold the floor if they want the filibuster to continue. Like, we should start talking about this as strengthening and reviving the original intent of the filibuster, not weakening or eliminating it. We just have to, I think, be for what's happening when it comes to like what Joe Manchin needs to hear. Thoughts, comments? What do you think of my op-ed?
So I think I agree with the spirit of what you were saying in a vacuum, but sure. Joe Manchin, I think we would have to believe that Republicans just want to be heard. I think when and maybe I'm being biased because I am a Democrat, but when Democrats are in the minority, I do think that they want to be heard and they're trying to make an argument against whatever they're filibustering. But Republicans don't want to make the arguments that they have to make against H.R.1 because they are not arguments that will actually make them look good. It's very clear that they have held on to this lie that Donald Trump has pushed, that the election was rigged. And Mitch McConnell's not going to get up and say that because he knows that the election was not rigged. And he's also already said the opposite. So I do think that if the goal was for them to be heard, then this is a perfect solution. But I don't think that's the goal. I think they just want to stop things.
Oh, no, I completely agree. I don't actually think that hearing from them is a good idea. I'm trying to create the space for Joe Manchin to vote for a talking filibuster because it's strengthening the filibuster.
Gotcha. Yes. So
I'm trying to pass HR1 here.
I know.
I don't give a fuck what these people say.
That is the main goal. And that's what I have to remember. And I guess I can't keep wondering, like, the thing I keep getting stuck on is, okay, we go that route. It's strong now. You can hear from the minority. What does that do? Like, will it pass now?
Well, if he's not in favor of weakening or eliminating it, then the only hope we have is at some point we have some way of reforming the filibuster that requires 40 Republican senators to hold the floor, and that eventually they will not want to continue doing that.
That's true. And one thing that I think anyone who's worked with politicians knows, they want to leave. Whatever they're working on, whatever they're doing, they want to get out of it as soon as possible.
Yeah,
so.
There's a Cancun in each of their hearts.
Yes.
Yeah, like you don't become a senator because you like working late when nobody's watching. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's true. So I would read your op-ed for sure, and I think I would even quote tweet it with a positive thought.
Look at that! Wow, that's an honor. Shaniqua McClendon with a great rant about Joe Manchin, HR.1, and a bunch of bullshit.
Thanks, Jon.
Let's spin it again. It has landed on The Masked Singer, which I believe was suggested by your friend and mine, Emily Heller. The Masked Singer. Emily, take it away.
Yeah, let's talk about The Masked Singer. This is a television show that's incredibly popular. I don't watch The Masked Singer, but what I do is I obsessively read the clues and the reveals. I try, and it's not even because I try to necessarily guess who it is, although I think that is part of it, as I think I'm giving myself a puzzle, but I never know who most of these celebrities are. Like, I'll read the guesses. I don't know who the person is. But I really like, I never watch the show. I don't watch the clips. I don't watch the performances. I just read the clues, and sometimes I watch the reveals. The premise of this show, if you don't know, is there's a bunch of celebrities wearing full-on mascot costumes, performing, and then a bunch of celebrity judges then say, oh my God, I think that might be Beyonce, and then they take their mask off, and it's someone from the Real Housewives. And one of the reveals this season, and spoiler alert if you are DVRing it and not keeping up, but you're not understanding the point of the show, one of the reveals was Kermit the Frog was on The Masked Singer. It was like inside a shell, like a snail shell costume. There was a top hat on top of the shell, and they lifted the top hat off, and then Kermit the Frog popped out. And I just want to say, Kermit the Frog is already in a costume. It's already a person using a mask.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Okay, so Muppet is a word
Rainbow Connection,
that is a type of puppet.
Yeah, sure, but he's the Muppet that's saying Rainbow. Remember Rainbow Connection?
I remember Rainbow Connection.
Muppets Take Manhattan.
I'm just saying you can't have someone in a costume inside a costume. That's
Remember he gets amnesia and then he gets a business job, walks around with a little briefcase. What are you talking about? Miss Piggy loves him. Has that kind of unrequited love. Joan Rivers helps Miss Piggy sort through her feelings. Make a counter in New York. Manhattan. Muppets Take Manhattan. They took it. Kermit the Frog. He was the Masked Singer.
Okay. I'm familiar with the character.
Fozzie Bear, he's a kind of comedian. And there's some other groovy ones. They're kind of groovy. There's Gonzo. He's a sex pest.
One thing, though, too, about Masked Singer is you're like, this is the most, like, debasing thing you could ever do. And everyone who goes on it has, like, a good reason for it, where they're like, you know what? I was in Hanson. Hanson's clearly the Russian dolls this season. That's what everyone's saying. And it's like, yeah, Hanson's not going to be on TV otherwise right now. And it's showing them that they've still got pipes. Like, people are like, you know, my kids watch this show. I want to be on it. There's always some kind of like fun, emotional reason why the people who go on The Masked Singer go on The Masked Singer. I don't understand the pathos of Kermit the Frog needing to do this. We already don't know who's doing the voice.
Kermit has a brand to protect like anybody else. I don't understand your rant today. Kermit the Frog is the Masked Singer. That checks out to me. Makes total sense.
You have no issue with that.
None whatsoever. He also was involved in a couple capers. I don't know if you remember that. But again, a long time ago. So
So yeah, he needs a new audience to sort of understand that, and
You know,
the best
you talking
way
about-
for them to get that is to hear him sing "Shallow" from
I didn't even know that
A
that
Star Is
happened. That's
Born.
making
No,
me
I don't
super
think
into
that's.
it.
I actually don't know which songs the Snail sang. I'm looking it up right now because now my curiosity is insatiable. So okay, the song that the Snail performed, that Kermit performed, was "You Make My Dreams Come True" by Hall & Oates.
That rules to me.
And
But also, like, what I find amazing about this is, like, Kermit also has a very particular voice that
Yeah.
I like. We can do it. There it is.
Yeah.
So was
Why
it
are
that
there
all the
so
whole
many?
was the songs? Was this the whole thing was like this the whole time? And
That's
everyone
what
was
I
like, "Who's under there?"
Again, I'm exactly curious enough about this show to look up the clues and the guesses and the reveals, but not curious enough to watch any of the performances. But based on the performances, the judges' guesses were Robin Thicke thought it was Seth MacFarlane.
Good guess.
Nicole
guess.
Scherzinger thought it was Billy Crystal.
Again, good guess.
Good guess. Ken Jeong thought it was Jay Leno. And Jenny McCarthy thought it was Ted Cruz.
Here's what you've just done. You've ranted me into a viewer. I had no idea that puppets could be under there. That's so cool to me.
It is the first ever fictional character on The Masked Singer.
Let's spin the wheel again. It has landed on eating in front of humans again. I put that on the wheel, so I'll just take a quick stab at it, explain to you what my thinking is. As we approach the end of the dark chapter that was the past 13 months of being at home, being unvaccinated, trying to do our best while turning on the television and seeing news about people all over the country acting irresponsibly, I am starting to realize that there are obviously aspects of having gone into a long-distance relationship with society that I'm aware of. I'm quite sure that the first time I go to any kind of a party, I'm going to be, and it's not like I was getting high grades in my party behavior in the pre-pandemic world. It wasn't like I was like, now that's a guy that knows how to walk into a party. Not me. Never was, never will be. But I know I'm going to be even more strange than usual. I know I'm going to bring a brittle and also desperate energy to virtually all conversations. I just know that that's coming. I'm not going to let things end. I know that that's going to be part of what I have to sort through. But I met somebody for a coffee out of doors, something I hadn't done face-to-face at an outdoor establishment in New York. And I ordered a breakfast sandwich because I rarely miss an opportunity to do so. And all of a sudden, I started eating this breakfast sandwich, and I realized, other than with Ronan, this is the first time I am eating something while facing a person who is not the star of a prestige drama. that this is that the person sitting across from me is not in the Ozarks laundering money. They're not trapped in some kind of psychosexual mind game with a villain.
They're not some
in a
kind
true-
of Raymond that everyone loves.
Yeah, this isn't a perfect stranger. Yeah, we're not in Schitt's Creek. And I'm realizing that, wearing sweatpants and eating in front of the television for a year has made me a feral monster. And so I have nothing really I have no place to take this. You're catching me having just experienced this. And I only will say, I hope we all give ourselves the opportunity to we're all about to jump on a raft we built ourselves with the volleyball we've been talking to, and the volleyball's about to float away, and then we're going to get to a buffet with a bunch of crab legs. And I just hope we're all aware that we're all uncomfortable with the buffet.
I think for anyone who is at all self-conscious about eating in front of other people before the pandemic, the past year has not made us think our mouths are less disgusting. That should be no one's takeaway. The whole point of the past year was like, yeah, that area between your eyes and your chin will be your death. You cover it up, you show it to no one. You don't open it and shove things inside in front of other people. That's not what we do.
It's not what we do. Over the course of the pandemic, I would say that meals where you face each other versus meals where you face in the same direction, we have, like, the first couple months, we really made an effort to face each other for a lot more meals. But as the pandemic has dragged on, increasingly, we are facing the same direction while we are consuming food. And I'm not yet quite ready for facing people again.
Yeah, I think we should no longer be shaming people for sitting on the same side of the booth.
Yes.
That's not a thing. The only reason we should shame people for that is because it's exposing more people to the view.
Anyway, 2021, we're going to be so fucking weird. We're all going to be so weird. And the better you did, the more careful you were in 2020, the weirder you're going to be.
Oh,
all
yeah.
right? And that's just the reality of it.
And I think going forward, if someone is making you feel like really comfortable and they're very sort of charismatic and comfortable and like they're just sort of like really in the flow of a conversation at a party, you should look them in the eye and say, I know what you did.
We know what you fucking did.
Yeah, you're
know.
acting way too normal right now for
You got-
someone who's been
hey.
inside.
Hey, you know what I sense? I sense some fucking practice.
Yeah. Let me see your passport. I know you went to Mexico.
Yeah, you show me that passport. Tell me, did you capsize in Puerto Vallarta, you son of a bitch?